And today we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of answering an individual question, I wanted to talk about something that affects all of us at one time or another. Because I have to tell you that a large percentage of the questions that you guys send in have to do with anger. Why does my child get so angry? Or how do I control my anger? Or how do I get my kids to control their anger in better ways? And so many of us have this short fuse. And what is it? How do we go from being totally calm and rational to being crazy in the blink of an eye? And I have a lot of personal experience with having a short fuse and also being extremely sensitive to violence and other harsh tones and other people's anger. I'm the one that they call too sensitive, and yet I was also totally desensitized to my own unmanaged anger. I had to grow my fuse, and it's much longer than it ever was, and I feel like I grow more every day, but it didn't start out that way. The coping tools that I learned early on were based in fear and control. And I quickly learned that that didn't work very well and that they didn't make me feel very good using those kinds of tools, but I didn't have any better options. So I really want to open us up to the effects of adult anger on kids because I want a better world for myself and for our kids. And I can tell you that exposing kids to unmanaged adult anger has a very real effect. And I don't tell you that as some holier than thou parent, but as a kid who was profoundly affected by it, and I share it with you as a mom who also has another child who's ultra sensitive, but she's also super compassionate. I think that the two go hand in hand. You know, if I had handled her early years with less attention to her emotions, I may be more challenged now by behavior problems. And you know, frankly, I see all this judgment of our kids as a lot of pressure on parents to raise kids that are supposed to be all these things, respectful. And I think ultimately that the changes that we want to see in our kids are going to come when they see a change in us. And I feel like we have to start to open ourselves up to feeling our emotions so that we can find our way to some cooperative and compassionate problem solving. So I was inspired to create this week's teachable moment because my daughter recently shared her experience with some adult anger. Recently, she's been a little bit reluctant to go to school, and it's only first grade, so you think there shouldn't be that much stress or lack of enjoyment around school. So what is it? And over the last couple of weeks, I've tried to understand, and she hasn't really been that forthcoming. And I know that with her temperament, pressing the issue is only going to create more frustration for both of us. So I've tried to slowly inquire to find out what it is. Is it school? Is it friends? Is it the routine? Are there some challenges she can't handle? And then one day it came out. My teacher gets very angry quickly, she said. And wow, you know, I had to let that sink in because this wasn't an experience of anger being directed at her, but she was watching it. She told me, you know, she doesn't do it to me. It's just to the kids that when they aren't listening. And then she went on to tell me about a long-term sub that she had last fall. She said it's like when that teacher used to snap her fingers in the faces of the boys to make them be quiet. And I tried to remain calm in my response because I didn't want to color her interpretation with my opinions. So I wanted to just hold on and breathe through the anger that I was feeling. So I said to her, you know, I imagine that that wasn't fun. You know, she shook her head, and I said, did that scare you? And she said, I don't want to go to school today because it's library and the library teachers are mean. And then she said, actually, all the teachers are mean in the whole school except for the first grade teachers, the other first grade teachers. And wow. And she said to me, you know, if I have a problem, they just tell me to mind my own business and not to tattle. I thought, oh, okay, so this is where the it's none of your business comment came the other day, where that came from. It's helpful to put it all into context. So this is where people jump in and tell me, oh, she's too sensitive or she should have a thicker skin. And this is where I shake my head and say, You know, I'm wondering how many of us are living in chronic states of unmanaged stress. And are we aware of how it's affecting our kids and manifesting in their behavior? So today I want to share with you 5 tips for helping everybody manage strong emotions and anger. And the first tip for you is to breathe. So many of us don't take the time to breathe, but taking that 5 to 10 seconds to inhale and exhale before you speak, before you jump to conclusions or try to control or fix the situation. You know, breathing isn't a time waster. It's a tool for changing our physiology, for opening up and connecting the brain information highways so that we can start to model for our children. Right after you breathe, ask yourself questions. What happened? Am I safe? What feelings were triggered in me? What do I need right now? Asking yourself questions disengages your alarm system and points you to access some empathy for yourself, which is necessary if you want to be able to find compassion for another person's situation. So our triggers are really wonderful clues to our unmet needs and our unheard feelings, which give rise to this anger in us. Okay, now for our kids. We need to point them to use these same tools, but we can't force it on them in the moment of conflict. We have to be willing to wait and also give them tools. I mean, empathy helps, but what about when there's no one there to provide that empathy? How do they manage alone? So my next tip is we need to get to know what our kids like and dislike. How do they calm down? They need to be given examples. So think about it. What helps calm you down? Is it exercise, music, going for a run, building something, being creative, meditation? You got to start showing kids that they have the power to change their emotional state by offering tools for managing anger. When they're little, it's about patience and consistency and not this expectation of compliance, but consistently offering tools to help them process their feelings. You can have your kids color or draw pictures about their feelings. Start young, teaching them how to take deep breaths, and have a basket in your house that's filled with sensory regulators, things that they can squeeze or pinch or pull, or headphones or music, a sandbox, a water table, a place where they can have that they know that they can go to calm down their bodies and feel connected. Okay, my next tip is to use play to connect with kids, especially when they're angry. Kids who feel angry often feel misunderstood or unheard, and they need more attention and connection to manage those strong emotions. So, do you pull away from an angry child, or do you move in closer, risking that vulnerability to break through the defenses that kids put up? Younger kids also like to hear that we understand the story of their pain. When they can't express or when they're feeling overwhelmed, we can help them control their anger through storytelling or through play, like drawing pictures or role playing with dolls or superhero characters. Now, my final tip is don't try and force self-regulation in the heat of the moment. Point your kids to reflect on their anger when you're both removed from the intensity of the conflict, when you're both calm and connected. Especially as kids get older, you don't want to engage them in the heat of the moment. You don't need to remove your attention or be unkind. You just need to choose a little bit of self-awareness and be willing to wait it out, to wait till your child's feeling more receptive so that you can resist that knee-jerk reaction to defend your position. By simply recognizing your child's emotional state and offering options for calming down and making clear requests and holding firm limits while remaining empathetic to their experience, that's how you teach kids to control their anger and to manage those strong feelings that come with frustration and disappointment and all of those things that are really normal to life. So you can say to your child, you know what, you must be feeling really angry with me. We don't use words like that in our house, and I know that you know that. So how about if you take some time to collect your thoughts, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about this. Or maybe you say something like, I'd like to hear you. When we yell at each other, it doesn't work for me. So I'd rather talk when we've both had a few minutes to calm down. And then later you can talk about it. You can begin the process of not convincing your child to accept your point of view, but actually starting to engage your child to notice what happened to his body, to teach him to manage those feelings that led to the negative behavior in the first place. You can say later, hey, we both got, pretty upset earlier. I'm sensing that you think my limit was unfair. I'm wondering what that felt like for you. Where did you start to feel those feelings in your body? You don't have to change the limit. You don't have to change or back down from your position, but can you be okay with your child needing to express his frustration about it? We can have high expectations for our kids, but we have to recognize when our own emotional state is creating an unhealthy dynamic, and when our emotions or the emotions of other adults around our kids are interfering with our kids' ability to manage their behaviors. So I have a little exercise for you this week. I want you to start to take notice of your triggers. Can you pinpoint what sets you off? Knowing what tips you over the edge is really the first step to empowering yourself to take control of your emotions. So take a week, and every time you're triggered into anger, I want you to investigate. What am I feeling? what is missing from my experience right now that I would like to have? And then report back to me and let me know what patterns emerged in your triggers. Did you uncover anything surprising? So that is my teachable moment for you this week. And if you found these tips helpful, please pass it on and share it with a friend. And of course, if you want more tips and tools like the ones I shared today, make sure that you visit me at teachthroughlove.com and get on the list to learn my 4 keys to shifting negative behavior. And until next time, everybody, please remember it's about consciousness, not perfection.